It's Brainwash with Dr. Tom. We're here with Benjy Johnson out of Greensboro, North Carolina. With guitar picks, we've asked him to select 20 of his influence songs. Béla Fleck, Stomping Grounds.
Béla Fleck was another one of those guys that I was turned on to by listening to Jerry Douglas. Somebody had given me a Béla Fleck tape back in the early 90s, late 80s, and I didn't get it. It's like I was still too entranced with that whole guitar thing and that whole, like I'm saying, that whole territorial brotherhood of guitar kind of thing, man. And it's like, hey, somebody's a banjo, you know? And it's like, and I just didn't get it. After listening to Jerry Douglas and really going to and seeing all these guys physically, you know, seeing them play and interact with each other, I was like, man, these guys are phenomenal. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's just, it gets back to that whole thing of it's not the fact of what instrument you play. It's just what a good musician you are and what you decide to take it out on, mm-hmm. you know, or what you decide to translate what's going on in your head, you know, and him just happened to, I mean, I've actually seen an interview where Jerry Douglas says this. He just happens to be playing a banjo. You know, mm-hmm. that's just the whole thing. He's an awesome musician. He's total command over the instrument, but it just happens that it's a banjo that he's playing. Those are like the schools of thought now, you know, that are kind of cool to me, is the fact that you look at Ben Harper, who's playing a Weissenborn lap, you know, acoustic lap guitar with a pickup on it, running it through an overdriven amp like Hendrix, you know, and then you get Béla Fleck, who plays an electric banjo through a total, you know, through more guitar stuff than I could ever dream of owning. You know, and plays it very. The phrases that he plays are very jazz guitar like, you know, but he has to translate it all over to banjo. But then he sits down and just rips bluegrass like it's, you know, it's just second nature. And that's where he came. You know, that's where he came from. Was the whole, you know, of course, playing banjo, you're not going to come anywhere but from bluegrass. But the song "Stomping Grounds" has that very memorable melody thing to it. Again, he has Victor Wooten playing bass, and he has Victor's brother Roy, who they call Future Man, is playing a thing called a Synthax drumatar, which is essentially, it looks like a guitar, but it has a MIDI output, runs through a MIDI brain and all this good stuff, and it's electronic drums that he plays with his hands. Really awesome. I mean, awesome show, and that's one of those things where if you want to go see a band totally turn their songs around and play them, and they'll state you the melody that's on the record. You go see them play live, and they'll state you the melody that's on the record, and then they'll just play it they'll play it inside out and backwards and stand on their heads. The anti-melody, perhaps. Oh man, and then they'll all look at each other and go, boom.
It's Brainwash with Dr. Tom. We're here with Benjy Johnson out of Greensboro, North Carolina. With guitar picks, we've asked him to select 20 of his influence songs. He's already presented 10 for us, and we have another 10, and it's Leo Kottke's next.
Leo Kottke, and he's the seminal acoustic player, you know, as far as like, if you want to listen to a guy that just lives and breathes acoustic guitar, you know, it's like he's actually I don't know if he plays electric on the Peculiaroso album at all. That came out I want to say mid 90s, maybe 94, and that was one of those things where I think that was actually the first Leo Kottke record that I ever bought. And then I went back and bought more, bought older stuff, and with him, it was one of those things where you would think on the list that I had put him on there because he's such an awesome guitar player. But the song that I picked was just for the songwriting of it, mainly for the lyrical content. It's called Parade, and the images that he paints with the lyrics, and it's a simple. I mean, for him, it's a simple song. I mean, the chord structure is I won't say it's an easy to play song. I mean, the chord structure is rather simple, and but the lyrics really paint a story. I mean, they kind of paint a picture in your head, and songs like that, you know, singer-songwriter songs like that it's normally the guys that write songs like that and write lyrics that well just kind of play guitar to support their song. They're not necessarily per se a great guitar player that you would pick out and say, man, I just love the way he plays. It's like the total combination is what you listen to most guys like that for. But it was kind of odd in that him being a guitar hero kind of guy to the whole acoustic scene, and a legend to the acoustic scene, really, and then he can be such a good lyrical songwriter on top of it too. And this one just really caught my attention off of this album. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's influenced my lyric writing in that I try to have lyrics paint somewhat of a picture.
It's Brainwash with Dr. Tom. We're here with Benjy Johnson out of Greensboro, North Carolina. With Guitar Picks, we've asked him to select 20 of his influence songs. Pride and Glory, Losing Your Mind.
That was one of the things where if you would have picked out a Zakk Wylde song, he was Ozzy Osbourne's guitar player after. And the funny thing is, I realized that I have 3 of Ozzy Osbourne's guitar players on my influence list. I have Randy Rhoads, and I have Jakey Lee, and I have Zakk Wylde, and this is Zakk Wylde's solo band, kind of post Ozzy. This song kicks off with a banjo lick. It's a total Southern rock album, but it's like Southern rock on steroids, you know. And this was again one of those. It was one of those. So he's playing this banjo lick to start the song off with, and it's. Well, you know, this guy must have been playing a 5-string banjo, because it doesn't translate well over to guitar. So that's the other thing, that if you would have asked me 15 years ago, when Zakk Wylde first started playing with Ozzy, that if you'd have asked me, you know, which Zakk Wylde song, you know, of course this didn't exist, but I look back on it now, and it's got that whole let me switch on the hot here. Hold on. He goes through some of those. And it's got this. I mean, he's just got great breaks. He got a great solo, and the greatest thing about this record is really raw. And I noticed the other day the guitar solos don't have any rhythm guitar under them. Like, it's just bass guitar and guitar solo. It's just all, you know, just the whole thing. And Zakk is into the whole. He got into the whole country thing after he did the whole Ozzy typical metal, you know, albums, a couple of them, 2 or 3 of them, and then he cuts this record, and it's got this whole Southern thing to it, and he's singing, of all things, and he sounds like Greg Allman singing. You know, I mean, you'd have never dreamed it in a million years, but that's that whole North Carolina Southern hee-haw, you know, subliminal thing coming across, man. It's like, even my Ozzy guys, you know, I'm picking songs that sound like they're from, you know, Yadkinville or something. It's just a good old rock song. But I remember a friend of mine saying, have you heard the new Zakk Wylde album? And I said, nah, I hadn't. Saw the video to it. He said, well, cool thing about the video, he's riding down he's in the bayou in a boat, and he's playing a banjo. And I said, oh, really? He doesn't play a banjo on the record, does he? And they said, yeah. I was like, right on.